Great. Good evening and welcome to the February Town Council meeting for the town of Bladensburg. We'll now call tonight's meeting to order. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Councilmember Lundy for the opening prayer.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Jane. Okay, let us pray. Today we bring ourselves into your holy presence, oh God. To you we offer our prayer, our praise, and our plans. This month we celebrate Black History Month and honor the culture of our brothers and sisters. God, help us to value our differences, diversity, our strength together, as well as the creative ideas and part that we all have opportunities to bring when we all are welcome to come to the table. Help us to labor on and see that you, our God, are indeed our God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Lundy, for that beautiful opening prayer. And again, welcome to tonight's council meeting for February, Black History Month. I must say, I was hoping Ms. Blunt would have one, Councilmember Blunt would have one of her beautiful kente cloth creations, but she didn't go there tonight, but it's all good. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the January 11th council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Mendoza. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilmember Blunt. Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Tonelli, or is it Ms. Griffin?
I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Griffin, who's calling on the line because we have, I believe, 5 public comments to read into the record. We didn't read, I just want to say something too, that we didn't read public comments at the last meeting because it went late and we abbreviated the agenda. I reached out to both of them. Mr. White said it's fine not to read this one. Ms. McCutcheon's comments, they look more timely, the comments that she submitted this evening. So I think if it's okay, we'll just go ahead and read her current comments tonight. But I just want to acknowledge that they submitted comments last month and we didn't get to, and we apologize. So.
Actually, Ms. Griffin, I apologize before you start up, and my colleagues, I apologize to you all as well. Let me back up. I didn't ask for a motion to approve the agenda. For those joining us, we did have to table 2 items from the work session and move them over to the council meeting, which were the 58th Avenue project for the update for the residents and also a maglev update. So before we go further, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Mendoza. Is there a second? Okay, so the motion fails in terms of approving the agenda, but we'll proceed. Go ahead, Ms. Griffin, with the public comments. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Let me see how I can best do this. I will start with Mr. Weiss, 5407 Tilden Road, for his public comment, Mayor and Council meeting. I want to thank Purnell Hall for extending the leaf vacuum service another month to the end of January 15 instead of ending on December 15. In the previous year, when the leaf vacuum ended on December 15, there would be piles of leaves left in the yards and streets all year. Now that the leaf vacuum is extended another month, ending on January 15, the streets and yards are clean and there are no longer any piles of leaves along the street. There is a dirt street gutter on Quincy Street from 52nd Avenue to 48th Street. So the rainwater goes into Quincy Street and the water freezes on the road. The street water drains on 48th Street at the corner of Quincy Street and Quincy Place has been clogged up over a year now due to the collapsed underground drainage pipe near the Mango Cafe. This causes street flooding and ice on Quincy Street and 48th Street when it rains or snows. On January 30, a town resident sent me an email saying there was ice built up on Quincy Street and 48th Street. That was very dangerous. I sent an email to our Bladensburg Police Chief Collington asking the police to check the street and put up warning signs if needed. I want to thank Chief Collington and the town police for quickly checking the street to make sure it was safe. I also sent an email to Purnell Hall to see if he could get the ice off the street and clean out the street drains. I want to thank Purnell for making sure the ice was cleaned off the street. Purnell sent an email saying State Highway looked at the flooding and clogged up street drains over a year ago, but nothing was ever done to clean them out and repair the street water drains. The flooding and ice on 48th Street and Quincy Street is very dangerous to vehicles and pedestrians. So I'm asking the town staff, the mayor, and the town council to contact State Highway to make sure State Highway finally cleans out the street drains and repair the broken underground drain pipe before there is a serious vehicle accident due to the flooded and icy streets. Thank you, Steve White. We have a comment, email from Garani Laney, 5425 Farnham Street. In reviewing the above subject, one item in particular caught my attention: mileage accountability. In light of the state of our national economy and the impact of the COVID virus pandemic on resources of governments at all levels, it is really important to be careful how we spend public funds. It is especially gratifying to see that our town elected leaders are already assessing current town practices to determine if there are any unwise practices or physicalities, unsound practices, policies that can be changed, improved, eliminated. As the budgetary season approaches, this review is timely. In addition to the mileage accountability, I suggest that you also assess the town policies regarding professional development of staff. Because the town's website is unavailable at this time, I am not sure of the town's present policy on the subject, but I offer this suggestion. We are a town with limited resources, so minimally, if the town pays for a staff member to attend school, then the staffer should be required to receive a passing acceptable grade in a course. If the staffer fails to pass a course with an acceptable passing grade, then the student must be required to reimburse the town for the cost of the course. Thank you for all your hard work. The next email comes from Paula Arias, 5595 Doris Court. Hello, thank you for sending this. At last month's town meeting, it was brought up regarding Mayor James leaving the mayor's vehicle at the town hall. And each time she needed it, she would have to use her own personal vehicle to drive there, pick up the mayor's car to attend any meetings, other council meetings, county meetings, state meetings, and court hearings. I have lived in the town of Bladensburg since I was 16, and I'm appalled at the council members of this town over a mere vehicle for the use of the mayor, where there are more important matters to attend. I do not think the council knows how much she does for this community, taking leave from her regular job to attend to the affairs of the town. Mayor Jane does so much for our community, and I believe she should be allowed to have a car at her home to respond to all matters in the reference to the town. You have other employees that have a take-home vehicle that do not live in the town or county, so please tell me the difference in that she lives in the town and can't have a mayor's vehicle. A couple of mayors before her had a car at their home, and nothing was ever said regarding this matter. I think the council should reconsider letting Mayor James have the vehicle at her home to attend the fairs of the town of Bladensburg. Also, did you ever think of the safety of Mayor James switching back and forth the vehicles, especially coming home at late hours? I am her next door neighbor, and I can attest to the fact that she has never used that mayor's car for her own personal convenience. So again, I would like to see the council give a good explanation as why they feel she has to leave the mayor's car at the town hall. I would like a response to this email. The next concern from Alicia Tutt, 4411 Blue Heron Way. I am a Ward 2, I'm a Ward 2 homeowner, and I want to know how is my council member reaching out to the residents for input on information or concerns regarding the town. I have lived here for 13 years and never once have I seen a council member in my neighborhood soliciting input for concerns nor reaching out to me via email. The last town meeting that I watched was an embarrassment. We are dealing with more things that should take precedence over vehicle mileage. I would like to hear more about how to reopen our town fully, the steps to prepare our town employees for vaccination, how we will recover from everything that has been lost due to COVID, ways to raise money to help our community and families. I have always supported my town whenever I am available. One moment. And lastly, we have, but not least, Ms. Susan McCutcheon, 5404 Spring Road. My name is Susan McCutcheon, and I live on Spring Road. As you know, I regularly update the council on our all-volunteer grassroots opposition movement supporting the no-bill alternative for the proposed superconducting maglev levitation SC maglev train project. I want to thank Mayor James for her active and unwavering support by testifying in Senate and House hearings on the SC maglev bills, participating and presenting in meetings, and the physical distribution of informational door hangers. I ask for the council's continued support through letters asking for the extension of the comment period for the draft Environmental Impact Statement, DEIS, to 180 days and commenting on it. I provide news updates and the current deadline for submitting comments is April 22, 2021. I provide news updates and website links to research position papers and other documentation that will help the council and Mr. Tonelli in formulating comments. On January 14, the Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transit, MCRT, our new nonprofit, held a town hall sponsored by the county council members Danielle Gloros and Jolene Ivy. Mayor James made a presentation and several Bladensburg residents attended. Our Q&A responses will be posted soon on our website. The MCRT, along with the Citizens Against the SC maglev, CATS, has formed action committees, including one comprised of volunteer experts convening weekly to discuss and formulate comments on the DEIS. The MCRT-CATS will soon hold workshops on how to comment on the DEIS. I asked the Bladensburg Town Council to hold a public information meeting about the CS maglev for the Port Towns area, so our MCRT-CATS experts can inform and update the community. The City of Greenbelt this evening will discuss outreach to other municipalities to solicit impartial financial support for the expensive engagement of Jill Grant and Associates to address the CS Maglev opposition on behalf of the communities along the route. I urge the council to strongly consider responding positively to this request. If the municipalities pool their funds, all residents along the route will benefit from the necessary legal representation. One more thing, potential nonprofit grant recipients would like to find out whether they will be awarded grants. The end of the fiscal year is fast approaching. Thank you. I have read the comments from the residents and concerned individuals who sent emails into the acting town administrator, Vito Tonelli.
Thank you so much, Ms. Griffin. And I want to turn it over to Ms. Ferguson. So thank you for jumping back on. I'm sorry, Ms. Griffin, could you please mute? Okay, thank you. We were getting some feedback. Mrs. Ferguson, so I did call for a motion at the beginning of the meeting to approve the agenda, and the motion failed, and was just wondering how to proceed forward. We did cover approval of the minutes and public comment, but if you could help us out here just to make sure we remain compliant.
Mayor, the council adopts an agenda so that the public will know what is going to be discussed during the meeting. And particularly for those things that there has to be a vote to approve them, and your ordinances are on your list this evening, the public won't know ahead of time whether or not you're going to take those things up unless you adopt an agenda. If there is something on the agenda that council members, a majority of the council members, don't want to take up this evening, then someone needs to move an amendment to the agenda to remove that item from the agenda and then approve it as amended. But then otherwise, you're not giving proper notice to the public as to what will and won't be discussed this evening. And that would be an issue, because you are supposed to have an agenda for your public meeting. So if there's something that council doesn't want on their agenda, they can just move to take it off and then approve what's left, which is generally the way that's done if there is not an agreement on what should be on the agenda for the evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ferguson. So once a motion is made and seconded and we go into discussion at that point, if there's any adjustments, the council could make a request at that point regarding the amendment, or to take something off or add something to it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, certainly, and it happens all the time. People aren't ready, or they want to move something from the regular agenda, the consent agenda. Any number of things can happen, or to add something on. So that's how that's done. You wouldn't normally just not vote to approve the agenda, because then the public doesn't know what you're going to talk about this evening, and that is not appropriate.
Okay, are there any questions from the council? So with that, and I appreciate it, I just wanted to make sure we were compliant. Again, the motion did move to the floor and it failed. So, and that was made by Councilmember Mendoza. So should he be the person to bring it back to the floor, Ms. Ferguson?
He can, just about anyone can do that, certainly.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Mendoza. Is there a second?
A moment of indulgence. I'm trying to pull it back up.
Councilmember Blunt or Councilmember Lundy, do you all have it, or do you need it resent to you? Mr. Tonelli, could you please resend?
I sent it out just before the meeting, just make sure everybody had it along with the Zoom link. We could send it again.
I'm sure I have it. I'll go look.
Mayor, I think you can second the motion too to get the discussion started.
Yeah, second.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Rout. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ms. Ferguson, as well, for just helping us understand the importance of that step.
I have to leave you now. I have
Yep,
to.
I remember. You got a 7:30. Thank you. The next item up on the agenda are the committee and legislative updates from staff and council members. So at the January meeting, there were a number of appointments to COG, and not that all of them meet on the same frequency, but wanted to open up the floor to the council members and staff in case there were any updates from any meetings that occurred in January. Looking. Okay, Councilmember, oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Lundy was talking but she was muted. Okay, sorry, Councilmember
Yeah.
Rao, I saw your hand, but I saw her lips moving at the same time. So I thought she was trying to unmute herself.
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I don't have a copy of the agenda. What was the first committee report on the agenda? I'm sorry, I don't have a copy.
Oh, that's okay. COG committee updates.
Okay, so are you gonna do that?
I was gonna share, I wanted to give you an opportunity
You can go,
first.
because you're the primary person.
Okay, so Councilmember Lundy and I did sit in on the climate, energy, and environmental policy meeting as a part of COG. And I do have an attachment for my monthly report, which lays it out. But some key updates had to do with the fact that they released, they call them these one-pagers, they're community-wide greenhouse gas inventory summaries. And the positive thing to note is for the town of Bladensburg, when they looked at our data, over 2005 to 2018, our emissions have decreased by 14%. And the reason that is wonderful news to us is we do have some sustainability goals that we're trying to meet as part of the Port Town Sustainability Plan and our own individual town goals. But while our population grew by 7%, you would think that the number of emissions for greenhouse gas emissions would have increased by that percent. But what we're finding is that as our residents are moving to more energy efficient appliances, some on their electric bills are selecting renewable sources of energy, and same on the business side with the commercial businesses. For example, with Ernest Merritt putting up the solar array on some of their buildings, those kinds of things truly do have a positive impact on the community. The other thing quickly to note is the biggest emitters of greenhouse gas emissions, though, continue to be transportation and the buildings, because while some are moving toward more energy efficient appliances and so forth with the buildings and homes, some are not, and it's just taking a bit longer, especially on the commercial side, to make those kinds of transitions. But going back to the focus of last week, Councilmember Lundy and I did have an opportunity to hear the Montgomery County, it was actually their county executive's office who presented their climate change plan. And so took some notes on that and would love to debrief with Councilmember Lundy, but to pull back some ideas that we can help implement here in the town on our sustainability efforts. And then also in learning that one of the individuals on the committee actually works for Prince George's County and is responsible for putting together Prince George's County's climate action plan. So I think there's a couple of ways that we can tie our efforts into what the county is doing and get even more levels of success. But Councilmember Lundy, I'll turn it over to you as well.
So thank you, Mayor, for the COG report. I can move on to PGCMA and MML if you're finished with COG.
Sure. Were there any other updates from COG from Officer Reinhardt or Chief Collington? Okay, yes, go ahead, Council Member.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so on January the 21st, I'm looking at my report. There was a PGCMA meeting, and I can just highlight some things from that meeting. We did have the Honorable new County Council Chairman, Calvin Hawkins, to come, and we definitely, on behalf of the town, congratulate him on his appointment. I know some of us probably already have, but again, for public record, to congratulate him on his appointment. And he just went over that the county councils in their 8th consecutive declaration of COVID-19. He shared the 2021 council calendar with us. He also talked about, Ms. McCutcheon would be, I'm glad to hear about this. I think she wanted to call too. She was there too. She probably wasn't because she's not a member of the PGCMA. But he did mention about the $800 million megalith project. And he suggested that a joint letter should be written to federal partners and Senate partners from the municipalities. He talked about food distributions and also wanting to visit with municipalities. So I would move that we would work to schedule our meeting with Chairman Hawkins, because he's very interested in meeting with us. Of course, it would be virtual. He also talked about the county council resolution that was condemned the violence that happened at the Capitol. Also, he went over the following support for the highway user funding, the rapid transit, Maryland Health, the Prince George's County Purple Line funding. He talked about police reform, the police reform work group. He talked about that, and we know our council, the Honorable also Brooks recently put out her recommendations and in respect to that report. I do have a copy of it, as a matter of fact, as well, if anybody would like to get an electronic copy of that. And I received that from Delegate Alonzo T. Washington. Also, and that's basically, he talked about a lot of stuff. It's a very informative meeting. Also, we do have a new legislative chair in Councilmember Joseph Solomon, in case you wanted to know. And he's a council member out of Bladensburg, Maryland. Ms. Ola Hill was on the call. She talked about, she gave us a high-level COVID-19 report, and a lot of my colleagues here received that. She sends out a good report to us on a weekly basis. Also, MML came and reported and I'm a member of the legislative committee for MML, and they are definitely the staff that's working on the #1 legislative priority being the highway user funds, and we expect that to go forward. And those funds, if there is a report out that tells you the different amount of funds that each municipality would get compared to 2020, which is the money you'll get for 2021. So as it relates to Bladensburg, 2020, we received the estimate was 190,000. And for the estimate for 2021, it's 201,716.63. Also, there was a question about the sports betting from some of our colleagues, and basically the comment with respect to the sports betting, municipalities are interested in receiving the monies directly. We want to get some of that money because as it relates to municipalities that are really desperately in need of monies that will support their programs and services. So that was that. MML real quick. Let me go down to this report. This is a lot of, it's not enough time to go into everything that we're doing. So, but just want to say about MML, they continue to work on our behalf with some of the similar. Everybody has similar initiatives: environment, police reform, climate. So basically, everyone has the similar initiatives, and I know that MML, as you all know, work very diligently on our behalf. They're always before. They're in Annapolis, lobbying for us and everything. So basically, we're continue to do that. They continue to do that. And if you want any information on any of the bills or what have you, can directly go to MML's website, where they list a lot of the bills that they're going to be, talking about in front of the House and or the Senate. So MML, that's all I have for PGCMA and MML at this time, because last time I talked about the If I Were Mayor contest. So I don't have to talk about that again.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Lundy, for being our liaison with MML as well as PGCMA. And then just to round it out, and others feel free to let me know if you have updates as well, but just as it relates to the Maryland General Assembly, Senator Paul Penske's office reached out and asked if I would testify for the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee. And this was in response to an appropriations bill that he put forth, and basically saying that we would codify not using taxpayer funds to subsidize at any time now or in the future the maglev project. And so that bill testimony occurred on January 27th. It was cross-filed also in the House. And so I know Delegate Nicole Williams has also reached out asking for testimony from Ms. McCutcheon and myself. So we'll continue to advocate for that. But the summary of the bill says this bill prohibits the state or any unit or instrumentality of the state from using any appropriation for a magnetic levitation maglev transportation system located or to be located in the state. The bill does not apply to expenditures for the salaries of personnel assigned to review permits or other forms of approval for a maglev transportation project. And so again, we'll continue monitoring this, but as you all know, this has a very huge impact on our homes, on businesses, on our historical properties in town. And so at every turn, we're going to continue advocating against any sort of legislation to support that project. Anyone else with any sort of General Assembly updates? Okay. Next up, we have financial business, so we'll turn it over to Mr. Tonelli.
I got to take off mute first. Give me 1 second. We talked about this at the work session. Mayor, I don't know how much you want me to dive back into details. We just discussed it 45 minutes ago, but I'll just do a quick 30, 45 second piece. When we passed the budget, we passed a budget with a COLA of 2.3% and merit increase of 1.5%. But my suggestion to the mayor and council at the time, because we were deep in COVID and not knowing how it's going to impact our financials, I asked them to, it's probably in our best interest to hold off giving these out until we know we're on solid ground to make sure we're through this. And so far, our expenses are very much under budget. Revenues are coming in a little bit ahead for this point in the fiscal year. And we touched on this last meeting, and I want to bring it back to show the mayor and council some options here, what the increase would be, the total budget impact for doing a COLA and or a merit. We have savings this year because we have the higher end positions have been vacant. Town administrator has been vacant for the year. The deputy chief position has not been filled. Town clerk position went vacant at the end of September. We have some other vacancies through attrition that went out and were filled again. So you have that gap there. Insurances came in less than budget. So all that's part compensation, and all that is savings and compensation. But we haven't but we should go back and address what was in the budget, what was passed, but we didn't give it to the employees who are, so I want to bring that back to the mayor and council. And this first screen, this 115,000 would be the cost. I'm going to go back to here real quick. If we keep going at the current rate, we're going to end up with compensation $380,000 under budget by the end of the fiscal year, projected, as of today, projected, and filling these positions next couple months or so. If we do the increases, just to establish a baseline, back to July 1, it would cost an additional $115,000, which comes off of this $380,000 savings. And we cut it up any sort of ways the mayor and council want to do it. Start October 1, January 1, April 1, not do it at all. Just do COLA, just do merit, just, back to COLA, but no merit, start merit here. So we can do it any way possible. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. Are there any questions or comments from the council? Council Member Routs?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Tonelli, for that presentation. I move that we adopt the recommended merit increase totaling $45,412 paid retroactively from July 1st to present to our town employees.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. Is there a second? And Mr. Tonelli, if you wouldn't mind, could you Yeah, I was just going to ask if you could have that on the screen.
I second.
Seconded by Councilmember Mendoza. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
And I have a hand up too, but I'll let Councilmember, I'm sorry, the screen flipped on me. Councilmember Rout, I see your hand.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor James. Council members, I am requesting your support with the motion that is presently on the floor because I do think that our employees need to be compensated for their merit as they have earned that, as our acting town administrator has stated. The cost of living at this point, we are not even through our COVID yet. We're not out of our COVID emergency. And the way that things have been, we don't know if we would have to go back into a state of emergency or not. Given that we're halfway through the year, I just would like our employees to be given what they have earned, which is their merit for 1.5%. If possible, later on in the fiscal year, once we are approaching the end of our fiscal year, we could consider the COLA paid out to our employees, but just being safe as we are, right, as we can consider just, being safe as it relates to COVID-19, because if we do go back into a state of emergency, we would then have to, pay extra overtime and things of that nature. So thank you, Mayor James. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. I would further add, in looking at this, the cost of living adjustment, I just feel like that's the right thing to do for our staff. What things cost this time last year are not necessarily what they cost today. And I do feel like that should be granted to our staff as a given. With the merit, that is performance-based. And so that is dependent on what their performance reviews dictate. And so not everyone would necessarily qualify for the 1.5. That would be the maximum. So I get what you're saying, but given that we're projected to have it, Mr. Tonelli said, about 380,000 by not doing anything, I see no reason why we can't provide them with the cost of living adjustment plus the 1.5 merit increase. So I appreciate the spirit of the motion, but just would open it up to the council to consider doing both. Again, that's the budgeted item, but correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Tonelli, did I state that correctly? It's based off your performance evaluation for the prior cycle. So if you didn't do superb or wherever you fall in the chart, you may not even get that full amount. Am I understanding that correctly, or is that a flat rate?
I got two screens going, I'm sorry. Am I on? Okay. The COLA goes everybody, okay? So the COLA moves the entire pay scale up 2.3%, okay? It moves everything up 2.3%. The merit is merit-based, and then we have to go through the evaluation process, and not all employees are going to get it. It's merit-based. So it's, that will take, a little bit longer, but we can retro that. But it's a process because it's it's performance based. But so yes, hopefully I answered the question. And
great, thank you.
Yeah, so
go ahead, Mr.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, thank you for that clarification, Councilmember Rout.
Thank you. I didn't hit that mute button, the unmute button. Yes, so once again, I do understand that merit is earned. Mm-hmm. And if you earned a good job during this fiscal year and it is your time, you should be able to get what you earned. Right now, we don't know if we can afford a COLA, a cost of living increase, because we don't know how we are looking, because we are still in a pandemic. And so what I am asking my colleagues to consider is to go on ahead and allowing for our town employees who have done a great job. We should reward them for that. And we should wait on the cost of living, the COLA, because we don't, yes, it is more expensive, but we have to understand that we are only halfway through our fiscal year. And so we may not be able to do COLAs this year because we may go back up into a state of emergency. And so it's not totally taking it off the table. It's just saying, let's look at it at a later time at our budget season. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. So again, something's better than nothing. And that's why I'm curious to hear from the other council members. Are you inclined to go this route? Or is there another manner? Because if this is what you all prefer, I'll support it. But I do think that we're in a position where we could do better. These staff members have been serving in unprecedented times and being exposed to the virus that has plagued the world. And I just strongly feel like we need to do our part to keep them encouraged, give them the cost of living adjustment in addition to the merit. But again, if you all are of the mind that you're not for it, you would only prefer to do this, as Councilmember Rout said, for the moment and come back and revisit, I want to understand how my colleagues feel so I can vote accordingly. So Councilmember Lundy, I'll start with you and then jump over to Mendoza and Blunt.
Oops. Yeah, I had to make sure that I could hear. Yeah, so both of those scenarios are interesting. I do believe the employee should receive some kind of compensation, especially for this particular time. So with the merit, only a few employees would receive that because that's based on your supervisor's opinion of the work that you've done. And with the COLA, everyone would get it across the board. And then we have the scenario of not knowing what type of financial situation we would be in. So does doing the COLA affect our budget? Will we affect our budget in any way? I'm trying to understand what Councilmember Rout, do you see that as affecting our budget expenditure? Yeah, go ahead.
Councilmember Rout, would you like to respond?
Yes, Mayor James, thank you. I would like to respond. Councilmember Lundy, so what I'm trying to portray is saying that at this time, if we don't know how we are going to get through the rest of the year. Our fiscal year ends June 30. And so we may get a spike in Prince George's County as it relates to COVID-19 numbers, and we may have to go back down into a quote unquote lockdown situation by which our emergency personnel would then be paid at an emergency rate as we did before. And we may or may not get that back with like we did in CARES Act funding. So it is, I just want us to be careful we have to get through the rest of the fiscal year. We're not taking anything off the table, saying that if you get a merit increase, we're not saying our employees may not get a merit increase, but we have to be conscious about the rest of the fiscal year as we are still in COVID-19. We still have a number of restrictions. We're having issues with our vaccines, not getting into the arms of Prince Georgians. And so I'm only saying if our employees have earned their merit, let's give them what they have earned. And then let's just wait to see what our projected expenses are for the end of the fiscal year. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout, for responding with that additional perspective. Councilmember Blunt, I'll come to you and then over to Mendoza.
Okay, I felt as Jocelyn did, we had the can you hear me? We had the CARES Act, which supported a lot of money. A big chunk of that money went to public safety for overtime. A lot of that money went there and it's still on the table. They're going to get it, but let's get through COVID, because if COVID hit and we need that money, then we can go right back and crash ourselves. And per constituents, what are we doing for them? And at the end of the day, I do believe that I'm going back Jocelyn on that one, because Councilmember out on that one, because I do understand, even though I understand both, because when you work, you're supposed to get your money, but we won't have the CARES Act the next time. We won't have that. And we know they was treated good through that COVID Act. So I support Ms.
And I have a follow-up.
Thank you, Councilmember Blunt, for sharing your perspective. Councilmember Lundy, I'll come back to you, and then I want to hear from Councilmember Mendoza.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mendoza.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilmember Mendoza?
I was just going by what Jocelyn was saying earlier, how a lot of money was spent. So I kind of just go along with what she was saying.
All right, thank you for that, Councilmember Mendoza. Councilmember Lundy, I'll come back to you and then we'll go ahead with the vote.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so seeing that nothing's coming off the table, that's a good point. That's a good point. Nothing's coming off the table. And the merit, they will get their merit increases. And I prayerfully everybody gets them. I mean, during this COVID season, I can't see why nobody wouldn't get their merit increases. And I agree. So let's do that. And we're not taking anything off the table. That's what I understand. We're just making sure that we're covered should anything else happen with this COVID situation. Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that feedback, Councilmember Lundy. So with that, we've had discussion. The motion's been properly moved and seconded. I'll now call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And again, to the staff, nothing's being taken off the table. It's just trying to make sure we can get through things as best we can and revisit this at a later time. With that, sticking with you, Mr. Tonelli, we're
Mayor, I was going to ask, just to clarify the motion, and this is going back to July 1, correct? Is that how the motion?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to double check. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because you had the chart up, Mr. Tonelli, as Councilmember Rout was talking, so we could see exactly what it was. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for clarification.
All right, over to you for the budget ordinances.
We have two budget ordinances. One is emergency budget amendment ordinance number 2-21 concerning the residential grant program, and emergency budget ordinance 3-2021 for the ambulance chassis funding. We normally completely read ordinances into the record. I'll put them up on screen. If Diane's still here, Diane, if you could go ahead and take them while they're being read, if that's okay, Mayor. I know they're lengthy, but we normally,
Yeah,
so okay.
No, we have to do that. That's part of the process. So Ms. Griffin, you're muted, but if you could come back up and read the ordinances. I'm not sure if you have a hard copy in front of you, but if not, Mr. Tonelli is trying to get it back up on the screen.
So, and for some reason she's not there, I can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Diane.
Council, TA veto, February 5th, 2021, from the town of Bladensburg. This proposed emergency budget amendment ordinance, number 2-2021. An ordinance to amend the operating budget of the mayor and town council of Bladensburg, Maryland, for the fiscal year of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Whereas the acting town administrator of the town of Bladensburg has made a request to the mayor and town council for amendment to the FY 2021 budget to reflect additional expenses which will occur as part of the fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and town council have determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Bladensburg to grant the request of the acting town administrator, and whereas the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg have determined that it is in the best interest of the town to pass this as budget amendment ordinance at the February 8, 2021 town council meeting. Now, therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg that the following budget amendment is made to the general operating budget for fiscal year 2021. Number one, increase mayor and council's budget for the community grants by $20,000 for emergency residential grant program. Secondly, reduce mayor and council budget for community events by $20,000 to fund emergency residential grant program. Overall budget impact, $0. And be further enacted and ordained that upon passage, this ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and acting town administrator in absence of a town clerk, and shall be recorded in a book kept for that purpose. In addition, this ordinance shall be published by posting a certified copy of it in the town hall for 10 days following its adaptation pursuant to its adoption pursuant to Article 2, Section 209 of the Charter of the Town of Bladensburg, Maryland, and will be effective this 8th day of February 8, 2021. That concludes that reading.
Thank you, Ms. Diane. So the council has heard the reading of Emergency Budget Ordinance 2-2021. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
I so move.
Moved by Councilmember Rout. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Mendoza. Any discussion? Councilmember Rout.
Yes, Mayor James. In a work session, I wanted to remind my colleagues that as the maker of this motion to decrease the mayor and council's budget to provide relief for our town residents, I think please adopt this. Because we are taking from our community events line item, and really because we're in COVID, we're not going to have community events, and to also ensure that the residents affected by the September 10th flood in Ward 1 who desperately need relief, and the residents that were affected by the crash in Ward 1 who were displaced, and a lot of some of the residents in Ward 1 were affected double. And so I know of 16 residents that would like to apply for this grant program. Four of those residents turned in an application. They call me on a regular basis. They can't get any calls back from town hall. They want answers. They desperately need this relief. Please support my motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. And I do want to applaud the council when we had the special meeting to talk about the flood, the flash flood in particular that occurred on September 10th and how we could support our residents. I want to commend not just Councilmember Rout, but everyone for bringing ideas and trying to figure out how we could put our heads together to really come up with a solution that we can control, a solution that we can make sure gets to our residents who depend on us in times of crisis. And so I agree. I thank everyone for collectively supporting this effort and getting us to this point in terms of even the dollar amount needed to make sure that we support those residents. But again, as stated in the work session, we're not limiting this to just those affected by the flash flood. If there's a natural disaster that's impacted you, that is what this is for. So maybe this time, this budget fiscal year, it was the flash flood. Well, God forbid, but if it's FY 2022 and it's another derecho, this is the purpose of having this fund available to benefit our residents. So with that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And next, we'll come back to Ms. Diane for the reading of the ordinance for emergency budget ordinance 3-2021. Ms. Diane, you're muted.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Town of Bladensburg proposed emergency budget amendment ordinance number 3-2021. An ordinance to amend the operating budget of the mayor and town council of Bladensburg, Maryland for the fiscal year of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Whereas the acting town administrator of the town of Bladensburg has made a request to the mayor and town council for amendment to the FY 2021 budget to reflect additional expenses which will occur as part of this fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and town council have determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Bladensburg to grant the request of the acting town administrator. And whereas the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg have determined that it is in the best interest of the town to pass this budget amendment ordinance at the February 8th, 2021 town council meeting. Now, therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the mayor and town council of the town of Bladensburg that the following budget amendment is made to the general operating budget for fiscal year 2021. One, increase grant expense budget for $9,000 for additional costs of the ambulance chassis for the Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department. Two, reduce mayor and council budget for fire department donation by $9,000 to offset additional costs of the ambulance chassis for Bladensburg Volunteer Fire Department. Overall budget impact, 0. And be further enacted and ordained that upon passage, this ordinance shall be authenticated by the signature of the mayor and acting town administrator in absence of the town clerk and shall be recorded in a book kept for that purpose. In addition, this ordinance shall be published by posting a certified copy of it in the town hall for 10 days following its adoption pursuant to Article 2, Section 209 from the Charter of the town of Bladensburg, Maryland, and will be effective this 8th day of February 8, 2021.
Great, thank you, Ms. Diane. And so with that, is there a motion to, sorry, I thought I heard someone speaking there. Is there a motion to approve emergency budget ordinance 3-2021?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lundy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Rout. Any discussion? I'll just, sorry, I was talking and then I saw Councilmember Rout's hand, but for the residents who joined for the council meeting but weren't on for the work session, just as a reminder, the purpose of this emergency budget ordinance is because when the town of Bladensburg received CARES grant funding, we agreed to help use some of that to help our volunteer fire department purchase a new ambulance. The apparatus they currently have is well past its useful life. And due to the number of calls, not just from COVID, but other emergencies, it's barely hanging in there. The concern, though, was when the grant application process closed, we'd submitted all of our documentation and we're told by the vendor after that point that an additional amount of money was needed. And that's where the presentation came in last month at the meeting about the I want to call them air springs. Code enforcement, Reinhardt, can you help me out with the technical term? The
Liquid air.
Liquid air springs.
Thank you, liquid air springs. And so that is where the additional cost came in. We were first told it would be $10,500 over. It's since been reduced to $9,000. Again, there's no impact to the budget because we're moving this amount from the annual donation that we normally give the fire department. We're taking it from that and just going ahead and pulling the $9,000 from there. But I want to turn it over to Councilmember Rout for comments as well.
Yes, thank you, Mayor James. As I stated in the work session, I was the maker of that motion of the opportunity. And the reason why that we didn't want to pay for it outright is that we do, as you stated, Mayor James, have we give a donation already to the fire department. And we needed, we understood the importance of the springs during the time that the ambulance was being constructed, because without that, it would not be a pleasant ride for our residents that frequently use, the ambulance. And that we also had talked about the use of Bladensburg, because there was it was a consideration that, well, why it was brought up that were there other areas such as the port towns that use our Bladensburg Fire Department, and normally the practice is that a town adopts the fire department that is within their jurisdiction. And so we have continued to support the needs of the fire department, the Bladensburg Fire Department, because they truly respond. I know when my son was choking on a bone, they were here. I mean, that was the longest minute and 20 seconds of my life, but they responded, and they actually was able to clear his airways. And I was like, well, maybe it went down, but it was because of the Bladensburg Fire Department that said, let's take him to make sure that, he's okay. And so I was like, no, I think he'll be fine. And when we got to the nearest hospital and they scanned him, there was a bone still there. And so to me, our Bladensburg Fire Department, they are awesome with our residents. And so anything to support them, I think that's just great. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout. With that, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Ms. Griffin, for staying on and reading the ordinances. At this time, we'll turn it over to staff for the department reports, starting with public safety.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, community, colleagues. I just want to take a minute to go over a report. I think you all should have a copy of it. As you can see, it's a very detailed report because—
Chief, can you go ahead and share it?
Say it again?
I'll go ahead and share it on the screen.
You don't have to, because I'm going to be jumping around.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure that I included data for the year-end report. And as I mentioned earlier, doing a comp stat, where you provide information on criminal activity, the crime rate, cases assigned to our investigator, as well as our internal affairs complaints. We wanted to make sure that we stay transparent with our community, as well as with the council, that we report out as much information that we can involving the police department. Now, I just want to go back and I want to say first that I've worked with a group of fantastic first responders here in the police department. That's our code, that's our dispatchers, and our police officers. I've watched during COVID how these staff members stepped up to the plate. They did not want to stay home. They wanted to come here. Even the ones that got affected by COVID didn't waste any time getting back to work to do what they were called to do, and that's to be public servants. So I just want to say thank you to the council for the when we talked about the COLA and the merit increases. I do understand and I do appreciate the fact that you're willing to take care of our staff. And that goes a long way when I convey the message to staff after this meeting, because that question does come up quite frequently. I want to go over our overall crime for this year. For 2020, our crime's down 9.1%. But I do want to highlight the fact that our violent crimes have decreased. Last year, 2019, we had 4 homicides. In 2020, we had 0 homicides. The officers are out there being vigilant, Even during this pandemic, the officers are still answering each and every call. Let me get to the, I want to get to the internal affairs complaints. And this is important that I make this note that our police officers have had 12,638 contacts with the community. And of that, we understand that everyone's not going to be happy with the contact that they, whether you got a ticket, whether you got arrested, or just by having a conversation. Out of 12,638 police contacts, we've only had 8 recorded complaints. That's formal complaints filed with the police department, which when I did the math, it came up to less than half a percentage versus the 12,000 calls. So that is a testament of the professionalism that our officers do every day, the care that they put forth to represent our town.
Did you all have Chief freeze up on your screens also?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was my signal because nobody was.
I think he's
moving.
back.
Chief, I think you're back with us now. It's freezing up again. If it continues, you may just want to turn your video off and then, there you. It may help if you turn the video off and then give the report. Sometimes it's a bandwidth situation.
Okay. All right. So I just want to go over our community action team events. Since COVID, we April 2020 to December 2020, we participated in a number of weekly grab and go distributions. In April, we had the hot meal distribution that was through World Kitchen, and I believe that was Councilmember Rout that was instrumental with that. We had the Port Towns Elementary and Rogers Heights food distribution in October. We started the, again, with the council's approval, we had the COVID-19 relief food gift card giveaway for our residents who were in need of getting some food for their families during these tough, difficult, challenging times. Our CAT unit also did a virtual resource fair where residents had the opportunity to apply for jobs. They brought in vendors and they had a virtual resource fair. In June, we had the Unity in the Community March for Peace after the George Floyd murder. In June, also, we had the Pray With Us, where we partnered with members of the community, and we went around and just met with different associations and apartment complexes. In August, we had the ice cream with a cop. Again, I can't thank our community action team enough for what they do. In August, we had taken it to the streets with me, the chief, walking through the ward, meeting our residents, understanding what some of their concerns were, and providing resources. In September, we had the Bridging the Gap between law enforcement and the community. October, we had the National Coffee with a Cop Day. And then in October again, we had a costume distribution. We gave away leftover, well, they weren't leftover, they were donated costumes for Halloween. October the 27th, we had the Speak Up and Speak Out. That was the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we had Councilmember Blunt, Lundy, and Rout there, as well as Mayor James. And I mean, it was just a phenomenal event that we had where we could actually hear our survivors speak up and speak out. October for Halloween, we had the drive-through trunk or treat. That was on October the 30th. And on November 23rd, we did a Thanksgiving basket distribution where we went out and we shared food with our members from the community. We gave away 45 Thanksgiving baskets. And then on Thanksgiving Day, we actually went out with the CAT team, with Mayor James, and we went out and provided meals to our homeless community to make sure they had a hot meal on Thanksgiving. Our CAT team put together a Citizen Police Academy from November through December. And we had 4 members there. We had 1 member from the community, Mr. Harris, Leon Harris, participated and graduated. So that is a excellent opportunity for our community to partner with the police to learn, get more insight on what it is, why police do the things they do, to learn more about the law, so they can take that message back into the community to help ease the tension between law enforcement and the community. On December the 9th, we had the Christmas basket distribution. We donated a lot of food again out to our residents. December Shop with a Cop was a little different. This year it was done virtually. Our CAT team got together with our parents over Zoom. They went shopping online, and the police, we went out in the community and distributed the gifts to the children. And last, we had our events at Elizabeth Seton. The CAT team and members of the police department, we provided Christmas gifts to families, and we did a mobile graduation, and the police was there when they drove through. So those are some of the events that I want to highlight, and the hard work that our officers and staff do each and every day. Our code enforcement, we can't do the things that we do if we didn't have staff willing to step up to the plate and answer each and every call. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that update, Chief. And again, appreciate all the hard work that your team is doing under your strong leadership. So definitely, we again ask that you convey that to the troops when you connect with them, that the accomplishments that they have on top of the crime stats being down is just remarkable. At this time, we'll move on to code enforcement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chief is always a hard act to follow. I can express, he's always a pleasure to work with and work for, including to work with the Mayor and Council here. I'm going to give you some updates that aren't on my report that, have been brought up earlier. In reference to the drainage over on Quincy Street and 48th, we have been working diligently with state roads. They are aware of the issue. They continue to try to find funding to get the issue corrected over there. And unfortunately, it's not going at the pace that us, the employees, the residents, or the mayor and council want to get done. But we are constantly working with them to get update from them. Recently, we were able to do some trenching work to do some preventive measures to keep the roadway from flooding. But of course, if we get rain or snow, it's going to back up that one drain and take 3 or 4 days for it to actually finally drain out and get through. Another update, we're in that time of season where we are going to start getting some wintry weather, as we saw over the past week or so. Just want a reminder for the residents, if you have a driveway, park your cars in the driveway so the snowplows can get through and actually get curb to curb where possible. Also reminders to shovel your sidewalks within 24 hours after the snow stops, and check on your neighbors, especially your elderly neighbors who might not be able to get out there to take care of their sidewalks. Just give them a hand if they could do it, because we don't want to see anybody get hurt in this town. We love all our residents. And lastly, if you are seeing your residents with like hoses running, please make sure they cut their water off, because we've caught a couple instances where people get broken pipes in their homes and it floods their homes. And it's as we know, dealing with the September flash flooding, it is very traumatic to have just your home flooded, your basement. And a lot of people don't realize that just exposed outside water line that's not cut off can freeze. And I yield back to the mayor and council.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt. Appreciate those remarks and reminders. And just so you're aware, on Saturday, Delegate Juanica Fisher did have a call with elected municipal leaders and State Highway Administration. Erica, her last name escapes me, but anyway, she, when I mentioned 769, she knew exactly the issues I was referring to. And I specifically asked if they could come out for another site visit with us, because even in addressing the area where you so kindly dug the trench to help with the drainage issue after I went out there that last time, it did make a significant difference. However, as you said, it's not going away. And in addition to that, as you head up toward Evergreen, that road looks like it could collapse any day now. So I will just wanted to get through today's meeting, but I'll follow up with Delegate Fisher's office tomorrow to see when Erica and her team can come out. So we actually walk it from Annapolis Road, going all the way back to where the pedestrian bridge is. So they clearly understand exactly what we're talking about as we're sending over the resident concerns to them.
And please definitely forward them my information. And I know Mr. Hall will probably be in agreement also. Forward our information, because we for one, we love to meet with our state partners and our county partners, but it's a lot better to be on site to see it instead of pictures. Pictures don't do it justice sometimes.
Right.
So it's so much better to see it in person.
Right. Thank you for that. Definitely will do. I'll get the contact and forward that on to you. Next up, Mr. Tonelli, we have treasurer's report, but I feel like we've covered a good chunk of it already, but over to you.
Yeah, we have. Just briefly, I'm going to share this. It's just easier to talk numbers when you see it on screen. This is actual, this column is actual through January of fiscal year 21, which is 58% of the year has gone by. So you can see our revenues are just over 5.1 million, which shows that we've received over 3/4 of our revenues for this fiscal year, which is normal-ish. We received some additional revenues because of the CARES Act funding right here. And that's really that bump that you see, the additional 4% overall. But we did receive additional property tax revenues, which I didn't think we would. The assessments were a little bit stronger than what we were told, and also some past collections and everything. And our personal property tax is really strong as well. And this is before even the current year filing. This is all based on last year's filing. So we're going to see additional revenues here as well. Income tax revenue, same thing. That's coming in stronger than projected, especially through COVID. Now, I don't know how. We probably are going to see the impact of the income tax revenue on next fiscal year's budget, because that is 2020 filings. So, no, I'm sorry. We'll see it this year, but, and let me back up a little bit, but it's coming in a lot stronger than expected. I talked to my counterparts in counties, and they're seeing that everywhere as well. Expenses, again, 58% of the year has gone by, and we're at 47% of actual expenditures. So we're under, so expenses are coming in under. And I have a breakdown here by department, where the expenditures are. Again, 58% through January, that's 58% of the year gone. And you can see where the variances are. Town administrator is a large variance there because we haven't had a town administrator all year long in this position. Town clerk, that position's been vacant since end of September. Finance is all in budget, but but the budget included the COLA and the merit. So now we have to go back and put the merit in. So this is going to change, obviously, next month. Public safety, again, it's under. Public works, and that's under, but that also includes the highway projects as well, so which are ongoing. So that's why that is under as well, which ties into the grants as well. So our total expenditures are under budget because this should be at or below 58%, or only at 47% through the fiscal year. And I attached the charts to show it graphically, so you can see revenue budgets. You can see the dark blue is the FY21 budget, and the actual is a lighter shade in front of it. And as I said, 3/4 of the revenues have come in. You can see where most of those revenues are. Expenditures, this is by department. Again, just graphically, dark blue is the FY21 budget, and these lower columns down here are the actual through January. And you can see how we're performing under budget so far through the year. And we have our full financial statement here, and then our departmental statements, which is everything above here, but this is all the detail. So if anybody has any questions or comments on this.
Thank you, Mr. Tonelli. And now actually seeing the revenues, it makes sense why you were saying earlier that we're ahead in terms of where you anticipated on the revenue side of things. You know, just given COVID, it was hard to envision exactly how we could be ahead, you know, in this situation, especially where you have situations like Comptroller Francho deferring tax payments, not only on the business side, but also for individuals, and just giving that flexibility, given the impact of COVID on people, their employment and so forth. So this is definitely encouraging to see that for property tax, we're 102% of budget. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I thought we would have at least 5 or 10% in collections because people are out of work and couldn't pay. So we walked that back, and and then it came through just the opposite. We've had collections that from previous years that were paid, and then everybody paid current year. So, you budget sometimes for the worst because the worst was happening. And so.
Great, thank you for that. I see a hand, and I'm sorry, but the way that my screen switches up is kind of hard to see. I think, Councilmember Rout, is your hand up?
Thank you, Mayor James. It was.
Okay.
So I just, so thank you for this. This was very helpful. I did notice that there are a lot of homes that have been through COVID in Ward 1 that have been, I guess, like redone by developers or whomever who's investing in our property. Do you think that has anything to do with the property taxes going up? Does that have anything to do with the amount of homes that are being sold and possibly at a higher rate than the homes were originally on the market for in the last years or so? Did that variance, because I mean, I'm happy to see that people are paying their taxes and that we have items in collections, but based on just the information that I see that's posted, just in my little neighborhood, there's been like 7 homes that have sold in the last month, which is a reason why my colleagues are very interested in putting together these welcome packages. So I just wanted to know, do you know the property tax revenue, is it an increase because what?
I'll find out for you when I receive the, we touched on at the work session, when I receive the constant yield rate and just under a week from the county. I'll know more. The way the assessments work, I believe it's the same in every county. SDAT, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, does the assessments, and they assess 1/3 of the county each year. So it's a rolling, and what's going on right now is the real estate market's hot. It's really hot right now. So people that are buying homes, at the market rate, that's the best way to say it, the market rate, it's going to cause the assessments in that area
to go up.
To all go up. Yeah. And when people are remodeling and everything, they file for permits to get remodeled. And if it's a substantial remodeling, that goes on SDAT records, and they will come out, and that increases the home value. And then when homes around it, the rising tide raises all ships. When homes around it are marketed that much higher, and you start having transactional sales of properties being sold at that higher rate because of that, That's yes, and that's how our property taxes, the total revenues go up because everybody's assessments go up. Yeah, so I'll know more this week, and I'll find out what areas of the county have been assessed, and you know, it just because you get a property tax assessment in the mail, I think I shared it 2 years ago. You can fight it. You can challenge it. If you do your homework, you can challenge it, pull comps, you know, what neighboring houses have sold for. If you think your property is, you know, that goes both ways though, because, you know, some people want their property valued higher, so they can borrow more against it. Others don't want to pay a tax, so they want the property taxes lower. So, you know, it's all what, you know, individual homeowners want, but then it's all just grouped together. And that's where we get our assessed notice from.
Great, thank you for that, Mr. Tonelli. Councilmember
off a
Rao,
little
you
bit,
had
you know?
another question?
Yes,
And
I
then
just
I'm
wanted-
coming to you, Councilmember Lundy, next. I did see your hand.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Tonelli. You jogged my memory. On Saturday, we attended a District 47 legislative breakfast by which a colleague who works with one of the senior homes, Newton Green, I connected with her after the meeting, and she works for HIPS, and they do support residents with fighting their tax situation. So I will share her contact information. They do a host of things. She was educating me. They do first-time home buyers workshops. They also do supportive services if somebody's going into a foreclosure. And they also, they're one of the partners they oversee Newton Green. They provide resident support services to Newton Green. And so they're right here in our community, and they're bilingual. She shared that her intake staff working are bilingual. And so I'll share that information with you that she shared with me. I was just on Saturday. And hopefully we can get that out in an e-blast, because I know there are some residents that are, you know, looking at a foreclosure situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Rout, for that information. Councilmember Lundy?
Yes, I just wanted to ask if I could be excused for a moment, please.
Yes, we understand. Absolutely. No worries. So thank you, Mr. Tonelli. That concludes the department.
Actually, I had just one more thing.
Okay.
Just to let the residents know, I let the mayor and council know that my interest to go back to doing treasurer position. I just want to let the residents know because, you know, I agreed to do this 9 months ago. I didn't think I'd still be doing it, and these expanded roles and everything. But I love this place. I love the town. I love the employees, elected officials, but I really, you know, it's time to fish or cut bait, and the treasurer position needs 110% of my time right now. It really does. So I let the mayor and council know so I can concentrate on that because, you know, that's really what I should be, you know, that's what I need to concentrate on right now. So I just want to let the residents know, so.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tonelli, for stepping in and helping us out, and totally understand and think you're doing the right thing here. Before I let you go, though, I know Mr. Hall is not with us and Public Works was listed under reports. Do you mind just doing a quick 58th Avenue update for the council and residents before we conclude the staff reports?
Sure. Pernell, are you on? I'm just going to tap this real quick to see if he is. No. Okay. So 58th Avenue, I think they did some of the concrete work, but they stopped on the bus pads because they need really good weather for that. And so just because of the size of them and everything, we were submitted a bill for about, I'd say about 20% of the project, 25% of the project already. Just waiting on approval from the engineers. And actually, hold on one second. Pernell, are you on? Let's see, you might be on mute.
So, Pernell,
can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Me out here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Go ahead and follow up. I got you. Go ahead. Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Hello?
Yep, Mr. Hall, we were
Okay.
just asking for an update on 58th Avenue.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. I can give you, actually, the concrete work on 58th Avenue, which was phase 2 of PY 45 on 58th Avenue road improvement. We have concrete work is 60% done, which includes 1,281 square feet of handicap ramps, and also 32 ADA mats, and also curb and gutter replacement, which will equal 904 linear feet. That's what's done as of now, which is say 60% done. And also what Vito was saying about the bus pads, as you know, we went into inclement weather, cold weather, rain, ice, snow, sleet. And in order to do a bus pass that's 9 inches deep, they would have to put some type of material into the concrete that will make it tighten up faster so that the buses will be allowed to start moving back on the roadway. And me as a public work manager decided not to do that, because what they're doing is when you put an additive to any type of concrete, you lose your strength of the concrete. So we didn't want them to rush the job. We wanted this job to last a long while for our concrete for bus pads, which we know is very critical up on this high traffic area, which is heavy equipment. And basically that's just a wrap up on 58th Avenue. And I say again, it is 60% done. And the rest of the concrete work, which is the bus pad, should start up in spring of 2021.
Great, that's really helpful. Thank you, Mr. Hall. And so with that, that was the last of the department reports. So we will move on to the mayor and council reports, and we'll begin with Councilmember Blunt. And of course, you can forego if you don't have anything, but just want to go around the horn.
Okay, well, I just have updates on the vaccinations. We're having vaccinations here at the Emerson House. And also Newton Green also is doing their vaccinations there. Parkview is like it's a hard feature to get them involved in a lot of stuff, because their upper management take care of all their resources, and because of COVID, they're not letting people in and all kinds of things. But so far, that's all I have is the updates on the vaccination, and hopefully we can still get our community vaccination program up and running once Prince get the okay for the vaccinations. Right now, he's waiting on the 11th of this month, and right after that, he can give us something to work on. But as of yet, we doing it here at the Emerson House. And I also wanted to say to the chief and the CATS team, you all know I have never, here at Emerson House, I have never said no to anything you all wanted to do. It's just our upper management is not allowing for the move around of people coming into the building through the COVID, because we're 9 floors. And people fighting to get on the elevators up and down. But as soon as they lift it, I welcome you all back to do whatever, as always. And once COVID is over, Chief, your CAT team got to be, but once this COVID is over, you watch, I got you. But other than that, thank you to the constituents, and let you know that I am your Ward 2 council member, and anytime that you like to talk or shoot me an email, please do so. As always, in the last 20 years, I'm very open. You can always talk to me about anything, but just be ready for the truth when you talk to me. I'm very open. So again, thank you for allowing me to represent you all as your council person. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Blunt. Councilmember Lundy.
Right. Okay. All right. So thank you, Mayor James. So first of all, I wanted to express a thank you to our school board member, Adam Stanford, District 4. Bladensburg, we signed on to the 100% clean energy in public and the Prince George's County Public Schools. And I received the following from the client's parents of Prince George's County. On January the 14th, the board unanimously, meaning the Prince George's County School Board, unanimously voted to move the resolution forward to the second vote. And if the vote on February the 11th is successful, Prince George's County Public Schools will be the first school district in Maryland to commit to 100% clean energy, and the focus work group will be able to begin to put together a climate change action plan to make it happen. And so I just wanted to give the mayor and council an update on that. And then thank you again for, I brought this forward to the mayor and council, and thank you so much for adopting it. And we want to thank our District 4 school board representative also for doing that, and the Prince George's County School Board 100% unanimously going with it. So now we're moving forward for phase 2, and we hope we also get a full school board support on that as well. I want to alert the residents present that there will be a Climate Solutions Now Act rally on February the 22nd from 5 to 6 p.m. It's virtual. If you want more information, you can contact me. It's a kickoff. I'm working with this group. I'm working with the Greenbelt Climate Action Network. I'm also working with the Client Parent Solutions Group as well. But the Climate Solutions Now Act rally is February 22nd, 5 to 6. And this will be the kickoff of a week of more lobby meetings. So I did participate in another lobby meeting they had in last year, December, during the holidays. That was wonderful. We got a chance to write letters to our legislators as we enjoyed the holidays virtually. Also, I wanted to alert you all about some of the issues they're going to be dealing with is the strongest forest conservation requirements, clean energy in schools, which I talked to you about, the County Climate Action Commission. There'll be an update on that. Success in fighting county power plants. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about the megalith. It's not the solution for Prince George's County, Maryland. So we're going to be doing that. Also, and I'm almost finished, and we just don't have enough time. I want to share this with you as well. 1 second, I'm scrolling down. Yeah. So I think that's about it. Hold on 1 second. I know there's the Prince George's County Environment Committee is having a meeting coming up soon as well. And I think that's posted. I posted that in the on Nextdoor. Also, it's posted on my webpage. You can just follow me on my on my Facebook page. And also, if you're following in the Nextdoor community, I try to keep the community abreast of important bills and legislation that's going on within our county. So that's one of the ways, because I'm a very advocate for education and engagement, because I think you only can respond to and be an advocate for what you know about. And so that's one of the areas I'm really, really passionate about. And also I am another member of your council. I'm Ward 2 member. And so I'm also here for you as well. Please call me or email me. You can get that information from the town office. So thank you, Mayor James.
Thank you, Councilmember Lundy, for that report. We're switching over to Ward 1, starting with Councilmember Mendoza.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. 2 weeks, not this weekend, but past weekend, I attended a school board community meeting with Shayla Stafford. And one of the things we discussed was about reopening the schools. And with the COVID and stuff, there were several issues discussed about a hybrid or how the school's going to work out. But it's working along fine. I think they're getting ready for next month to reopen it.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Mendoza. Councilmember Rout.
Yes, thank you, Mayor James. Pulling up my report. My wish for the town of Bladensburg in the new year is that each resident finds meaningful ways to improve our community. 2020 was quite a year for us as we all witnessed political turmoil, social justice, unrest, racism, economic decline, and a once in 100 years global pandemic that severely altered all of our lives. While 2020 was the Chinese New Year of the rat, it may seem like it was an epic disaster. The Year of the Rat did present us with a new opportunity to change the world for the better, to include the town of Bladensburg, our community that we live in. 2021 is the year of the metal ox, and its message couldn't be clearer. Success will come to those who work hard, really hard. In agricultural societies, oxen are reliable and strong work animals. They were responsible for the survival of humanity. Major events that took place in the Year of the Rat, 2020, continue into the Year of the Ox. Together, let's strive to complete it, ground it, and bring it to its resolution. Additionally, I want to thank the 7 residents that took time of their schedules to write me via email in support of the resolutions passed last council meeting. I want to remind residents who commented tonight that the town council took an oath to adhere to the policies and procedures that have been set forth in the town's charter and personnel manual. In the town charter, the town council has the power to pass all such ordinances, resolutions, or take other actions not contrary to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Maryland, or this charter as it may deem necessary to assure the good governance of the town. That's only one provision. I find it very hard that Bladensburg residents want their elected officials to forego policies and procedures that are set forth to ensure good governance so the mayor can park a vehicle at her home. The policies and procedures set forth are here to protect assets that belong to the town of Bladensburg. I recommend that the town council consider an external investigation be conducted to investigate any ethics violations and discover if there have been any misuse of the town of Bladensburg funds and assets. I also want to highlight I've worked with members of the town council on advocating for residents' needs during the pandemic, to include participating in meetings to review the town's response to the COVID, the vaccine needs of our town staff, residents' PPE needs, and to coordinate a response to the town of Bladensburg business needs. Let us remember, not all profits will produce good fruits. Lastly, I would like to also publicly apologize to town residents who have reached out to our town staff who have not received timely responses. As you all know, we are down a few positions, and as a member of the town council, I recognize this is an issue. We are also going to be down another position, as you may have heard today. I too often reach out to some staff and we do not receive responses, just as you. It is my hope that moving forward, this will not be the practice of town staff, as this is not representative of the motto the town council adopted before me, Bladensburg Cares. Together, we can intentionally collaborate to better Bladensburg and ensure this community is the best place to live, thrive, and work. I continue to meet with town residents and advocate our town needs to our state officials, school board members, county council, and state delegates. I would also like to add, I too attended the MagLav Town Hall sponsored by Councilmember Jolene Ivey, hosted January 14th, 2021. I continue to serve my town and volunteer my talents, connections, and resources as councilwoman, partnering with each resident, business owner, and staff member to create intentional and impactful change. Bladensburg, we are resilient and we will come out of these unprecedented times a safer, stronger community. Yours truly, Jocelyn Rout, Councilwoman. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, council members, for taking the time to detail your activities over the last month. I will be brief for the sake of time. I want to just mention, I know Sue Ellen Ferguson, our attorney, had to drop off, but given that the draft environmental impact statement is actually out for the maglev, on behalf of the town, we do need legal support with reviewing that. That document is over 600 pages. And I was hoping she could be on to just let us know if they could offer some guidance with that. Joe Grant and Associates, which was mentioned by Ms. McCutcheon, met with a group of us to talk about their experience. They're currently representing the city of Greenbelt, but they met with myself, the Maryland Coalition for Responsible Transportation, and the Citizens Against the SC Maglev to just share their experience on issues that relate to environmental concerns. And so if for some reason there isn't enough expertise in-house with our current council, just be advised that we do have another resource. The town hall was already mentioned that I had an opportunity to speak on and share the municipal perspective with concerns, which most residents already know. In addition to that, we did have the Port Towns quarterly meeting last month to coordinate with our partners, and a focus of that was identifying sustainable action plans that we can commit to collectively to move forward. We put together a very lofty plan with 60 priorities and strategies on there, but the goal following that meeting is for each elected official to have set forth top 3 priorities so that we get a consensus around what we're going to focus on for 2021. And then in 2022, we can check those things off and prioritize the next set of goals. The other important thing to note is I had a meeting with Central Kenilworth Avenue Revitalization CDC and Route 1 Community Cares. These are nonprofit organizations that have been helping to keep small local restaurants in business during the pandemic. And so what they do is they offer grants in the amount of $5K or $10K, and then they also partner with those residents to provide meals for the residents who are being food insecure as a result of the pandemic. So it was good to hear about their efforts and offer support, but also put on the table that we would like to see them incorporate 1 or 2 restaurants from Bladensburg where they qualify for grant funding, and in return, we use that program to provide meals for our residents. So rather than World Central Kitchen or some external party outside the town, we actually support a Bladensburg restaurant, and they in turn support our local residents. So more to come on that. Additionally, we had our Bostwick stakeholder group kickoff meeting back in the summer, I believe it was. The council talked about moving forward with a stakeholder group, and Mrs. Cecile Cunningham was leading that effort, but in her absence, I volunteered to keep pushing it forward. So starting in January through about May, we'll have monthly meetings. These are comprised of community stakeholders, so business owners, nonprofit organizations. We've got someone from the Bladensburg Library. We've got a local principal. But again, the idea is to have a diverse microcosm of our stakeholders at the table offering guidance and giving input into what's possible for the Bostwick House. And we're not looking at it just to repair it and renovate it, but also looking at potential uses. And so the idea is after ideas are shared and a good list of recommendations are completed, they come back to the council and present those ideas to the town council. In addition to that, I already mentioned the COG meeting with the CPC committee, talked about testimony for Senator Penske. I think some of my colleagues were also in attendance of the Ask the Expert sessions with Congressman Brown and sharing information and answering some common questions about COVID that occurred at the end of January. That's in my report as well. And in addition, we did have our Bladensburg Business Collaborative meeting on the 27th, where our keynote speaker was Peter Francho. And for those who don't know, he's our chief financial officer for the state and was able to share some advice with business owners on things to give them some breathing room as they're trying to keep their doors open and keep their staff in place in light of the impacts financially of COVID. And so I got feedback immediately after the meeting that it was very helpful. So we're following that up with having, as I mentioned earlier, someone come out from the Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce. It's actually the board chair, Tisa Clark, who's an entrepreneur herself, a minority I might add, entrepreneur, who will be our keynote speaker. And we're partnering with that, along with Senator Ben Cardin's office, to again present the paycheck protection program to our residents, but then, or to our business owners, and then also be able to give them the opportunity to have specific questions answered, because we can't afford for that funding to just remain on the table when there's so many local small businesses who need some assistance. They just don't know where to go to get important questions answered. Another huge win that we had was in January. Senator Augustine, along with other senators, announced a Recovery Now amendment, and it'll be as an attachment to my written report. But that actually did get momentum, and the Senate passed it last Friday. But there's so many opportunities for resources for food banks, volunteer firefighters, temporary disability assistance program, nonprofit relief. And we're talking about the state Senate proposing 10 million for some of these programs, 22 million for some of these programs. So again, a detailed listing will be attached to my written report so that you can read through that information. And finally, I want to say I'm pleased that we were able to resume the COVID resource distributions with the support of Capital Area Food Bank. So thank you to the staff who got that going again in January. So many residents that first week back were thanking us for getting it going and just expressing the need. So you guys are the boots on the ground. We can come up with ideas all day long, but you all make it happen. And I just want you all to know how immensely grateful we are for your support. And I'm sorry, last but not least, I think many people may have seen this announcement already, but huge thanks to Senator Augustine, who's been championing the reconstruction of the Peace Cross. As some of you may have known, he, along with Senator Doug Peters, were able to request some matching funds, bringing the total funds raised to renovate the Peace Cross to $640,000. So if you can email him or text or call, please thank him for that support. The goal was $1 million, and this goes a long way with their support in helping to restore that important memorial in our community. And so with that, that concludes my monthly report for the month of January. And at this time, moving into unfinished business, we did cover the 58th Avenue update under Public Works and covered the maglev previously. So that completes unfinished business and new business. So if I could have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Council Member Rout. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Council Member Lundy. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, let it be known by the saying of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? The ayes have it. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.